So, I Am Bread is a game about a piece of bread which is trying to become a piece of toast. The game is made by Bossa Studios, known for making games like Surgeon Simulator, I Am Bread, the incredibly terrible looking Surgeon Simulator 2. Ugh. I Am Bread is known for its challenging controls. I usually don't get to talk about these kinds of games, because quality rage games are very hard to come by. You'll usually get your Adobe Flash rage games made about 5 years ago, but either the quality's terrible or there's nothing to talk about. This game came around in April of 2015, but Let's Plays of it were coming in late 2014, so I don't exactly know when it was originally released. What's even more interesting is that a first look was released in October of 2014, and it looks so different from the Let's Plays released that year. So a substantial change was made somewhere in between October and December of 2014, and the full game wasn't released until April of the next year. Looking at the actual game all these years later, does it hold up to the hype that it left in its wake, or is the loaf ready to be thrown out? Let's take a look. Starting the game, you get an exposition dump from a therapist. A Mr. Merton is having a rough patch in his life. His wife left him, his business has failed him, and he is left to work as a street cleaner by the council that cost him his job. But who cares about this man's pathetic life? I am bread, baby! You are thrust into the kitchen, and your first moments of breadhood will always be a sign of things to come. Will you rage, or will it just be some awkward controls you eventually get a solid idea of? It's usually the second one, but you can find examples of the first.
What am I even doing?
Okay, I know I'm using a lot of Markiplier in this one, but he hasn't been in the past couple episodes, alright? I'm trying to make up for lost time. I should mention now, if you don't have a controller compatible with your computer, you're gonna have a bad time. It's not fun, and it's incredibly hard to get acquainted with. Now, I have a Steam controller, but if you have an Xbox controller, it'll work about the same. If you are playing with a controller, it's pretty simple actually. You have 4 corner points, all with their own individual buttons. Hold down the button and that corner will hold on to whatever it's laying against. This drains a grip meter, which is very important. If it runs out, you fall, but if you can touch a countertop or a shelf without using grip, it'll replenish it in a second, so it's not that bad. In order to be able to toast yourself, you need to locate a toaster or a warm object in the room that'll cook you. Then, you traverse. If you touch the floor, you become disgusting. I mean, who would want to eat floor toast? Now you have an edibility meter that goes down whenever you touch something gross. This goes from things like the floor or mold to fish, bones, and ants. Your goal is to be at max edibility when you are toasted at a good time, because at the end of your journey when you are toasted, you are graded on your effectiveness, and lo and behold, being a gross piece of toast that took 10 minutes to get to the toaster is not warranting a good grade. But honestly, even with all that considered, I don't see the game as a rage game on the levels of Surgeon Simulator. That game had some serious control configuration issues, but with I Am Bread, it's pretty straightforward. You know, I don't dislike the controls, I actually kind of like them. Don't get me wrong, it's still difficult to get used to, especially if you haven't played these kinds of games before or have taken a long break since your last Bread session, but I think it's actually pretty fun. Needless to say, good controls, good challenge, good gameplay. It's kind of like Octodad in that regard. Wait, I haven't covered Octodad yet? Looking at the first look of the game, the one from October 2014, it's insane how much the game had changed in that short amount of time. Starting with very little textures on everything, namely the bread itself, to the final product, I think it's pretty impressive. You gotta respect it at least some bit. I Am Bread's design actually holds up. I mean, it's not 4K resolution, hyper-detailed, realistic shaded bread, but it's not that kind of game. I mean, you're playing as a piece of bread inadvertently harassing a man while trying to toast yourself. It's a fun concept and the game's appearance matches that, while not being too simplistic that it looks bad, like other 3D games I've talked about. The music also complements this tone, with very upbeat music playing in the background of your adventure. It doesn't go so well when people are raging, but it's a good listen. My favorite's the main menu music. I know it's an odd choice, but I mean, come on. I'm a guy who likes catchy songs, what can I say? The game's layout is easy to understand, with things like edibility starting at 100%, the clock in the upper left, and your grip in the top center. The levels usually start you off at a vantage point, so you can see where you need to go in order to get cooked. They start off pretty simple with some hazards that are easily avoidable, but ends up with levels where you need to take leaps of faith in order to not get dirty. It's challenging, but manageable. This game has a very good idea of what it wants and how it wants to present itself through the level design, layout, and the game's appearance. I didn't have anywhere else to talk about this since it's not really the same as the main game, but I Am Bread offers a lot of alternative ways to play it. There's the cheese hunt, in which you play as a cracker that is trying to collect cheese, but your edibility is changed into durability because crackers can easily shatter. This one's actually my favorite, and I don't know why. I like that it changes up one of the main mechanics, but it feels the most like the classic version. Bagel Race is when you play as a bagel in a time trial race. Kinda like the Simpsons Hit and Run, but instead of Homer, you're just a bagel. Zero G is the space mode, where you use rocket thrusters on the corner controls instead of grip. This one's the one I found the most painful, just because it was the one I couldn't actually get a solid grasp on the controls. Rampage is a crossover with Goat Simulator, and you have to smash everything, everywhere, and cause as much damage as possible. It's alright. Free Roam is just the ability to walk around. I mean, that one was in the title. If you didn't get that, you're just an idiot. I'm not gonna lie, when I started playing this, I didn't think I was gonna enjoy it. That might just be because of the YouTube Let's Players raging at the game for its difficulty. I guess the overwhelming negative opinions would start to give this game a bad rap. But looking at it as a game you can jump into for fun, I think it fulfills its purpose and pretty well at that. I Am Bread is a fun game and a fun challenge. For that, I'm placing it in between Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator and Doki Doki Literature Club. I enjoy Doki Doki Literature Club's story and characters, but, I mean, come on, it's a visual novel, it's not very fun gameplay. Comparing the two isn't the most fair thing in the world, I know, but it's my ranking and I've got to justify it somehow. Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator had a little bit of everything I enjoyed from the Five Nights at Freddy's series, so it's a hard task to be a game that I would rank higher. But even still, I Am Bread was a very fun game that I would want to come back to sometime. Bossa Studios knocked it out of the park with this game. I Am Bread is a really fun rage game that doesn't get the levels of respect I think it deserves. If you want to play it for yourself, it's on Steam, but it's also available on mobile, PlayStation, and Xbox. I definitely recommend it if you're up for a challenge, but you might want to make sure you won't get too mad. Play me off, Markiplier! I hope you enjoyed watching this episode of Steam Review. I've got one more coming out this month, and it's going to be a pretty relaxed review, so I'm going to try to make it a really fun one as well, just to take out the year. Thanks for watching, all support is appreciated. Be sure to check out the original game, and I will see you next time. Bye.